How many times have we seen a situation in which there's no one in the building, but you don't know the building's on fire, and then someone goes in there needlessly? How often does that happen?
60% of the time.
Oh, that's what you said.
No,
60%
okay,
of the time.
no worries. So what you have here is, let's take a recent fire. In Waco, there's a Walmart fire happened last year, massive. This was like a 40 to 50 truck call. So that means 40 to 50 different fire trucks from around the counties came. This was a massive fire that required, 8 to 10 teams of firefighters just to search the structure. They had to search the structure while this entire building was on fire. The aisles were collapsing over. A Walmart is massive. Think a supercenter. However, they were required to search every aisle, every row, every column for people. And did they find people? Maybe they found one. I'll be honest, I don't think they actually found anyone. I think the building was completely empty. And so now what you have here is these hundreds of firefighters that risk their lives. There was several injuries that happened that day at that fireground. Thankfully, no one died, but there were several injuries. And each one of those is thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Right?
Yeah, and not to talk about the exposure to cancerous agents and things like that.
Exactly. You burn any sort of insulation, you burn any sort of wood, you're releasing toxic gases in the air.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, every minute that a firefighter is exposed is another chance that they get cancer.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's almost guaranteed in the industry right now that you will be exposed to cancerous elements. You know when you enter firefighting that you will be exposed. Whether or not you get cancer is the question.
And like you said, they are mandated to go into burning buildings.
Right. It's essentially a combination of federal policy, state policy, local policy, right, of how firefighting should be done. You go into the firefighting textbook. Step one is primary search. You will conduct this. You must conduct this unless it's deemed life-threatening. What does life-threatening look like? That's a subjective review, right? Yeah. If a fire commander, the incident commander, determines that the building is at flashpoint, meaning it's simultaneously combusting, they're not going to tell firefighters to go in. But they are brave, they're courageous, they're selfless. A lot of times they're going to put the firefighters in, not because they want to risk their brave firefighters. No, it's because they have a duty, right, to protect these citizens. And so that comes back to this issue where these firefighters are going into these structures. They are conducting these searches.
Wow. Firefighters are just like police officers then.
Yeah.
Essentially, instead of fighting crime, they're fighting fires.
Agreed.
It's a good way to look at it, to fully understand how useful these people are.
Yeah. And actually, if you think about it, in my opinion, firefighters at this point, so if you look at public service in terms of people in the government, there's really 3 categories. You have police. So when you call 911, you get 3 options. You get police, you get fire, and you get EMS, right? Actually, if you want to know, EMS in the United States, 70% of the time, they're run by the firefighters. They're run by the fire departments.
Yeah.
So now fire departments are doing both medical response and firefighting. Let's take a step further. If there's a chemical, a bomb leak, if a cat was stuck in a tree, if you got your fingers stuck in something, if your head was stuck in a swing set, if you hurt your leg and you're injured, any number of these calls, including if there was a bomb threat or a nuclear bomb, all come to the firefighters. At this point in time, the fire department has consolidated the entirety of every single public utility function other than the police response. And even then, they have an arson unit. They have a police investigation unit. Fire departments at this point do a significant number of tasks for the city. So they're overwhelmed. They're sometimes underfunded if they don't have enough, funding. But a lot of the time, they just have too many things. They do sort of everything. They're very much so generalists in that way. And these duties have grown over time. Inherently, they just started fighting the fire. But as more problems developed, as cities grew, as threats grew, more responsibilities were bundled into fire departments. And so while I agree that, firefighters fight fire, police fight crime, firefighters do a hell of a lot more than that as well. So, yep.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying that.
No worries. No one really knows the full extent of what firefighters do, so it's good to talk about.
I didn't. I've had interactions with firefighters beyond firefighting, but they've been useful beyond firefighting. I just thought it was, they were called upon because it was an emergency situation and, anyone could help. I didn't realize that they actually do that even outside of pure emergency. This happened during, that whole snowstorm in 2021.
Right, that's another example.
Yeah, they were the only ones who were useful to us during that period.
Were you stuck somewhere or something like that?
Yeah, we're all stuck, no? Where were you? Where were you in 2021?
I was in Houston. Actually,
Houston, good for you, man. Yeah. Good for you.
Okay. We had Harvey a few years earlier, so I don't know how.
Oh no, okay. My bad.
No worries. But yeah, at least we survived the worst of the ice storm.
Yeah. No, the way the firefighters closer to us were responsible for bringing supplies, bringing space heaters, things like that.
That's lovely.
They did that. So they're actually very useful, very helpful. Shout out to all the firefighters out there. You guys are God sent.
They rock. Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear that.
Or a God sent.
Yeah. During the wintertime, actually, people expect firefighters' jobs to get easier during the wintertime.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the worst. The most fires happen in the wintertime. And so that's when their jobs actually get the hardest.
Yeah.
Typically, it's because space heaters, different heating elements get destroyed. People do weird things with fires in their houses and things like that in an attempt to stay warm. So,
okay.